Hello, good morning, and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makine. Today is August the 8th in the year 2025, and our weather is looking something in the region of 26 degrees. Well, it's still rather cold, especially in the night. I don't know how it is there with you in Abuja, Kela.
Good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of your Daily Dose of Sunshine. I'm Kayla Megwa. And Ayo, we've been saving money on electricity. And I'll tell you why. No AC. Nobody has been turning on the air conditioning for the past 1 month or so because it's cold at night. It's really cold. So if you open up your windows, you actually even start to feel like you need to cover up a little bit more. It's a pretty cold city. It was particularly cold yesterday night, but we're here this Friday, and it's time for us to take a look at some of the major stories that have been trending all through the week, Ayo.
Actually, quite a lot of them. Really, Kayla, I mean, how many can we cover in the space of maybe 30 minutes or even the 1 hour that we have? But the fact that we can open up all of these conversations from time to time is always a good thing for us, isn't it? Well, thankfully, you have someone there who is going to look at some of the issues with us this morning. One that is particularly concerning for me is this whole WAEC thing making the rounds. And what are we telling the young people? First it was JAMB, we were having issues with it back and forth, and now it is WAEC again. It would seem like, I don't know. Anyway, you have someone there with you, so please just go ahead.
It's okay. It's okay. I got you. I got you. Joining us this morning, we have with us Mr. Laolo Akonde, who's a former presidential aide and presenter of Inside Sources. Thank you so much for being with us on the program this morning.
Good morning, Kela.
Let's start off with what I talked about. This broad situation. I keep wondering about the future of our country when it comes to young people. We're not setting proper examples for young people in this country, and we're ignoring the fact that this is going to impact what kind of adults they grow into. We saw all those disappointing videos, people writing exams in the night time, and you know, our guest, when we had that conversation, said it very clearly. You can't expect excellence when this is the situation on ground. What do you make of this WAEC story?
Well, you know, quite a lot of directions that we can go to, but the one that interests me the most is the abandonment of human capital development by the state governors. Education is on the concurrent list, and for the most part, the local governments take care of the primary schools. Essentially, the secondary schools are taken care of by the state, and tertiary education is normally where the federal government comes in directly. Not that you don't have a mixed match, you know, you have federal government do some secondary school here and there, you have state government also do universities. But essentially, this is a responsibility of state governors. Now, what had happened is that you have a plan to bring the level of the objectivity of this examination a notch higher. That's why they're using the computer-based testing, you know, which reduces the chances for, you know, any kind of prank or games or fraud. So I think we have to give ourselves a bit of time to go through all of that. But the most important thing is that we need state governors, in my view, to take care of the human capital development. It's their job what happens in the classrooms. It's their job whether there is light. It's their job whether there are teachers. It's their job whether people are going to school. And we need to keep calling them out. It's a situation that they need to pay attention to. And then, of course, we also call the government, the federal government in its own area, trying to define policy, and they have to carry the state government along in the overall policy, especially when it has to do with tertiary education. But I think also the computer-based testing is a good way to go because we need to check the fraud in the system, which is huge.
Yes. I mean, it's one of the biggest tricks I think that has been played on the Nigerian people, focus on the federal government.
Yeah.
And then people forget that actually, state governors, I don't know if you agree with me on this one, but I believe that state governors are more powerful than the president.
Well, especially in their state.
In their state, of course in their states.
Yeah.
You know, they control so much.
Yeah.
If the president had that kind of power,
and nobody is focusing on them.
Yes, no one is checking it.
People
No
can
one is
stay in their state and commit, just saying
all kinds of things.
And
yes.
then
It's the biggest trick, but it's changing, isn't it? We've started that conversation. We're championing the cause of getting state governors to be a little bit more circumspect.
Absolutely.
And get the people to call state governors out, make sure that they are accountable.
Absolutely.
I hope the Nigerian Governors Forum is watching this one. I hope it's something that they talk about when they have their meetings and whatnot.
We insist on that agenda. We continue to call them out, if it is about health, if it is about education, if it's about agriculture. The state governments have all the powers to take charge, and they have the funds, the resources to do it. If it is not happening, let us keep calling them out.
I mean, even the president has been calling them out recently.
Yes.
Because if you can, sometimes it's important to listen to the message behind what the president is saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes he says things, and what he's actually doing is calling you out. He's saying, listen, you have to actually go grassroots with this. You campaigned. You got into power. You are responsible for what happens in that place. But we'll have to move on to another topic. I'm going to start off with this one. I don't know much. I listen to his music. You know, I think he's a fantastic musician, even though I don't understand what he says in his music. But this story is one of the most shocking stories to come out from him. I've never heard this sort of story about him. K1, the ultimate, put on the no-fly list right now over this airport security breach.
Right.
We hear some pilots have been suspended as well.
Right.
You know, his daughter has been responding, you know, whether it is water, whether it is alcohol that was in the flask. What do you make of this entire story?
Yeah, it's very, it's not looking good at all, both on King Wasiu Ayinde, who we all love, by the way. It's not looking good on him. It's not looking good on the pilots who took that risk, knowing that somebody was there. Now, you could say that it was Wasiu's, King Wasiu Ayinde's fault that he ought not to be there. You know, if he wasn't going in, somebody should have checked him out. He should have checked himself out. They had a debate. They had an argument. You know, you could hold Wasiu responsible for that, okay? But you also have to hold the pilots responsible for not being cautious. You know, I mean, if Wasiu did not, quickly, I mean, he shouldn't be there. You know, don't get me right.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
If he didn't quickly move.
But if he didn't quickly move, he'll be dead.
We'll be having a different conversation this morning.
So what my point is that there is enough blame to go to both parties in this matter. But what I will say to King Wasiu Ayinde is that you need to own up to your irresponsibility, and that is the best way to redeem yourself in this situation. You had no business contesting with the airline officials how it is that you get in. The rules are the rules. And in some of the things they have said about him, saying that, don't you know who I am? Well, I will say that most Nigerian elites will say that. So, not that we are shocked. But King Wasiu Ayinde, you have a greater reputation. You got to own up to this act of irresponsibility and apologize because of who you are. And then let's begin to sort matters from there.
That's a very important thing, because of who he is.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we can be stuck in our bubbles and we don't realize how much impact we have on people.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know him personally. I don't understand what he's
huge.
But we love him because of the way we see you all love him.
Yeah.
And we listen to the music because he's most likely saying something fantastic.
He's extraordinarily talented.
I can imagine.
Extraordinarily talented.
And a legend, someone who has stood the test of time, been through government after government, and still been able to keep a good reputation. And I really hope that he comes out of this.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very, very...
It's very sad. I mean, he needs to own up to what he has done and then apologize.
Someone sent us a message, but he said, what about the airport security?
Yeah, and that's true.
Someone just sent that message. Because, what about airport security?
But I think there's a bit of intimidation involved in that, Kayla, as you must know.
Yeah.
So he approached the aircraft, but the question is that he shouldn't have actually gotten out of the of the reception, where it is at the terminal where people get to the terminal, that is when they ought to have stopped in. So we need to, the airline needs to go back and look at their processes and try and correct the errors.
Because that actually kind of points to a systemic problem.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to do your job regardless of who you're looking at.
Absolutely.
It's one of the strangest things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, let's move on now to another story. The Emir of Kano.
Right.
Who hasn't spoken in a very long time. He's been away.
Right.
But granted us an interview here, which I think was really fantastic. And he said thieves should not be rewarded with ministerial appointments.
Yeah. So
I wish he named names. I wish he named names. He wouldn't. But it's a very interesting dynamic that we've been seeing. I mean, people have been talking about even Mr. Hadi Sirika, for instance, who was made a chief in his hometown. That made headlines over the week. People were wondering, how is this happening? What happens to the value system? But he hasn't been convicted, has he? Yeah.
Well, the problem is that our values descended so drastically in the last decade or thereabout, or a little over a decade, to the extent that we started to push this narrative that the fact that somebody was accused doesn't mean that they are convicted, which is true, but then we can then push them to leadership. No. If you are accused and there's a prima facie case against you, the thing to do honorably is to go and sort yourself out.
Stay away from the limelight.
Yes, don't take public responsibilities. Don't take on a public trust. But we got ourselves enmeshed in a situation where we embraced that kind of narrative, say that okay, where they accused him, he's not been proven guilty, and all of our leaders must share in the responsibility. People that we appoint people like that into offices, they also must take in the blame of what it is that it has become. If you have a criminal case against you, you have no business being appointed into office until you sort yourself out. Because this is how all of these things happen, and what the Emir is saying, you can't argue with the fact that we do have instances where people who hold the public trust have been seen, known to have been implicated in all kinds of shady deals. And I think in our own interest, that got to stop. If somebody is not cleared, please don't appoint him. There are over 200 million Nigerians. I can tell you that for any public position in this country, you will find thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who are qualified and who don't have that kind of a baggage. So we need to treat ourselves better, and with a little bit more respect.
The modus operandi for putting people in public office, over the years, it has become public knowledge that it is based on politics. So it's a reward in many ways. It comes rewarding people, people give lists of names, and then because of your loyalty or because of what this person has done for you, these are the appointments that you give whoever that person is. So it doesn't feel like a value system. It doesn't feel like when we're trying to pick people for ministerial appointments and whatnot, that the person comes with the right credentials or is the man for the job. There's always that political element that comes into it. And sometimes that political element overshadows whatever moral questions we may have around said individual. Is there a way that this can be sorted out, or are we just talking to ourselves again?
So we cannot allow the expedient to take the place of the moral. You must always have a moral authority if you are in a position of public trust. The most important element in the composition of that assignment and that duty and that position is your moral authority. Look, if you don't have moral authority, people don't need to listen to you. They don't want to listen to you, even if you are the best person for the job. It is that moral authority, that unwritten code that is written in all of our acts that allows anything to be done. And people make assumption that if you are in a position of authority, it's because you are somebody that people can listen to, people can follow. So the moment that is questioned, our political leaders must find other political ways of rewarding people. The only way to reward politicians is not by putting them in public office, especially if they have questions on their character. There are other kinds of things that can be done to reward people. You cannot reward people with the future of Nigeria. You know, the future of Nigeria, the future of 200 million people is far too significant, is far too big than to use it merely as a reward system.
I'm going to bring Ayo in shortly, but this one, I'm going to just tease you with it. Yes. The idea that many of the abandoned estates in the nation's capital are owned by civil servants.
Well, it's the speculation that is all over town.
It's old story. It's old news, isn't it? But they are bigger. There's a whole loophole. We can't just, the civil servants said, no. Someone gave the land. Okay. Someone signed the documents. Somebody in Aegis did the work. Someone in FCT authorities. So there's a lot of you that are involved in this situation. But I'm going to bring Ayo in right now in this conversation. Ayo, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Kayla. I think even that, because I was going to, find a way to connect all the dots in this matter, because the issue you are discussing with Mr. Akande, the issue she's been discussing with you, is that of morals and all those things. Something that Emir Sanusi said was that when he was in primary school, I think he was in primary school, that there was a subject called civics, and there was another one called moral instructions, and that those are the things, according to him, that built, the kind of leadership qualities that he needed to become who he would eventually become, in life. And I'm pretty sure that a number of people who are in government today were in the same class with him, whether or not they learned the same things or another thing altogether. However, bringing that into the Constitution, Chapter 2, Section 23 of the Constitution of Nigeria talks about our national ethics. And I find it very, very interesting. National ethics shall be discipline, integrity, dignity of labor, social justice, religious tolerance, self-reliance, and patriotism. Now, we also now have a national ethics and integrity policy, which draws itself from its strength from 5 of our instruments of law, including the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And there are 7 core values taken into that. Is there a way to really legislate character? Because that's the issue that, Emir Sanusi is talking about. The people who, in that statement that the EFCC put out, that the lands are owned, the estates are owned by civil servants. And as Kayla has said, it's a value chain of activities, one person or the other, one table or the other. So really, is there a way to legislate character in a way that what we're talking about now, we won't be talking about it? Is there a way?
Yeah, thank you, Ayo. A very excellent approach there. Of course, you cannot legislate character. There are assumptions that are made about good behavior, which, like Emir Sanusi said, used to be taught. As we were going to school, they were teaching us all of these things. In our houses, our parents were teaching us. Our brothers, our sisters, especially the older ones, held themselves out as good examples that we can follow. What we can do that we have not done is that we have not been punishing people who break this trust. There is impunity in the land. And that is how we got to where we are today. You can't legislate good behavior, but we have to be able to punish misbehavior in public office. And we have not been doing a good job of that. You have situations where even public servants who have been found guilty are able to be snuck in through the back door. We all remember the case of Mena. It turns out that after all the conviction and all the money stolen that was proven in court, the guy was hiding in a place as a director until he was caught again. And there are all kinds of examples like that. So impunity, the consequence of impunity is what we are seeing today. Okay. That has produced, that statement by Emir Sanusi to say that we have thieves who are in public positions. So because once somebody is able to do it and there is no consequence.
Yeah. That's exactly what the problem is. Now, you said that we haven't been able to punish. When I hear the word we, I would like us to decrypt it. This national ethics and ethics and integrity policy, I'm reading it from the website of the ICPC. Some of the contents of the integrity and ethics policy, they drew strength from the ICPC's, the law that set up the ICPC. So who should be enforcing the Constitution, Chapter 23 in particular? When people swear when they are sworn into office, Mr. Akonde, they swore by the Constitution to uphold the Constitution. And when they do not uphold the Constitution, it will seem like we just say, you see, that's how they all do. They, please, decrypt who are they. The EFCC example, for instance, yes, the EFCC story, for instance, where the EFCC chairman says the abandoned estates are owned by civil servants, whether retired or in office. I think we should follow Kayla's example. It's a value chain. An estate doesn't just spring up. Someone has to allot the land. Someone has to verify that this land. Someone has to affirm, okay, who is the person behind it? We know the person behind it is a civil servant, and we still go ahead. A good number of people ought to be compelled to answer questions. Some heads need to roll. But this is what we hear all the time, Mr. Akonde. And we just hear, okay, this is what happens, and then after that, what next? So what Mr. Akonde, what the Emir is saying, and what the EFCC chairman is saying, it will seem like another story, which will wait until another one happens, and then we'll reference it again. Who should be calling who to account on this matter?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Ayo. Let's just take it like this. So somebody like Emir Sanusi is not in position to enforce the law, but is in position to speak truth, which as an emir is doing a good job at. Now, somebody like Mr. Ola Olukayede is actually in a position to enforce the law. And so, I mean, I have made comments about his crusading zeal, that is Mr. Olukayede, but he has to do more than that. He has the authority to go after those things and deal with them. And if he has challenges in doing his job, he has to say it if he wants to continue to do the job with the kind of regard that we have for him. So I'm saying that all of us, we are responsible. The political leaders who take these decisions or who prevent these decisions from being taken are responsible. We, the people who keep silent when all of these things are going on and we can't even speak out, we are responsible. Because what it seems to me, Ayo, is that a lot of our elite, people who have voices, and I'm not saying all of them, what it seems is that they are just waiting for their own turn. You know, that is why they can't speak up against the ills of the society. This is who we have become as a people. We have become tolerant of all these misbehaviors and this misconduct. Our expectations of public service and public trust is at the barest minimum. And all of us are behaving as if it is good and dandy. So it's all of us. But of course, the greater responsibility goes to the people who have the authority. People like Olukoyede, who should not just tell us that there's problem in NNPC, not just tell us that civil servants are the one owning the houses. Oh, yeah. Take them to jail. Yes. Take them to court. Conviction. And if you're serious. So that's what we need. Yes. By the way, great man, you know, and I have a lot of admiration for him. But it's not just an advocate. He has the opportunity himself, the chairman of ICPC, the Nigerian police, all the law enforcement agencies. We need them to help us to turn the hand of the clock in this country.
I mean, I want to be able to talk to you about one more thing before we go, and it's Sowore's arrest. We're seeing that, he was here not too long ago. We just had a conversation. I think it was picked up the next day after our conversation with him right here on Sunrise Daily. And we're seeing, in fact, we're seeing the Nigerian Labour Congress saying, look, this is one arrest too many. If there's a problem, get to it. I'm even seeing that he has posted again this morning saying his arms and his legs are broken and
Yeah.
that he was brought out of that cell.
Yeah.
He was attacked inside that cell and
Yeah.
saying they were taking him to court.
Right.
What do you make of this situation? Did he make this bed? Because there are people that feel like, well, over the years, there are a lot of cases that he, that the police have against him. There are many people, there are many areas where they're asking for him to come and answer for whatever crimes they say he has committed. Is it just one of those situations, or is this someone being attacked in your view?
I think that if the state had any convincing case against Omoyele Sowore, he would have been in jail by now. They don't have, it doesn't seem to me that they have any convincing arguments against him. I think it has just degenerated into a personality kind of stuff, and they want to, quote unquote, teach him a lesson. And we need to call out the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun. You cannot allow yourself to be drawn into a personal fight with Mr. Omoyele Sowore or anybody for that matter. Your responsibility, sir, is to stick by the rules of engagement, is to stick by the law. If Omoyele Sowore has broken the law, please diligently prosecute a case against him in an open court. This idea of detaining him beyond the time that the law allows, breaking his hand, harassing him, this is unacceptable, Mr. Egbetokun. And you need to talk to your people to stop this kind of behavior. We all support the police. We need the police. But this kind of behavior, it threatens, it reduces our trust in your leadership and in the police. You cannot allow this kind of shenanigans, Mr. Egbetokun, to continue under your watch. You know better than this, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Laolu Akonde.
Thank you.
Presidential aide, former presidential aide, and presenter of Inside Sources. I'm not going to tell Nigerians what we call it here, but Inside Sources. Thank you very much for being with us on the program.
Right.
We're going to short break, and when we come back, we've got more conversation for you this Friday on Sunrise Daily. Stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. This morning, we want to talk about safeguarding digital rights in Nigeria and promoting safe and inclusive online spaces. Take a scenario where a young entrepreneur in Kano wakes up to find that her Instagram business account has been hacked. She lost customer data, lost her income stream, and had confidence in doing business online. Stories like this, they are replete all too soon, all too frequently in the various parts of the country. So as we embrace the digital future, our rights, safety, and privacy online has become as important as the air we breathe. Today we ask you, how safe are we in Nigeria's fast-evolving tech landscape? How safe do you feel? This morning we have the Executive Director of the Center for Information Technology and Development, CITAD, with us in our Kano studio, Malam Yunusa Zakari Yo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Morning. Thank you.
You know, sometimes when we talk about all this, let me use that term that would be used in Kano, all this Dogo Turunchi, people just don't seem to understand many of the issues that are being raised. So for many people, digital rights is just like that, Dogo Turunchi. If you can help us understand what it means in simple terms, how would you explain it in simple terms to someone who only uses a phone to chat, to browse, and maybe to just do simple business?
Well, I think that the simplest way to explain what digital rights means is that consider yourself coming out to go to work in the morning, to ride the public transport, and then as you leave your house, you are confronted by somebody who says you have to remove your clothes, your underneath, and everything before you could ride that vehicle. And because you just have to go, and so you remove everything on you and got onto the vehicle, and then you expose everything of yours to the public ridicule. You know, so protection of digital rights is really about keeping our privacy as it should be, and not just exposing ourselves unnecessarily and unduly to others. That I think for me is the closest way to explain what digital rights connotes for the humanity.
Perhaps one of the issues there would be maybe how informed are many Nigerians on the issue of on the digital rights, as you have spoken about. The most that many people do is just tap their phones to do a thing or two. How much education do you think anyone needs to be able, before they can know that, okay, these are the things that I should be able to do with my digital rights, these are the ways that I can protect my digital rights?
Well, I think the big challenge we face is that often we stumbled onto the digital space without education about digital space. You know, ideally, we should learn what it is, what we can use it for, what are the perils, what are the challenges, and so forth. But in real life, people simply buy handsets, buy computer, buy all sorts of devices, and begin to experiment, and you learn to use it on the basis of the device that you have. I think that we have come to the point at which we should insist that our children who are born in this era should be given proper education on how they can handle this interaction in the digital space. You know, many years ago, government says that computer knowledge and then computer literacy are necessary and compulsory in our educational curriculum, which is very good. But it's not just that is needed, it's something that we must have, because as you can see that the examinations are migrating online, interaction educationally is migrating online, so those skills are important for educational development, for self-actualization, and so forth. So what is needed, therefore, is to find the space within that curriculum to inculcate and to expose our young people to basic digital safety issues, not on an experimental basis, but on the universal basis across our educational sector. What we've been doing so far in name of computer education is simply doing the Manchester United versus Madrid football match. So you have a teacher open us one screen in the classroom and 100 students sitting and watching. And rather than doing, you don't learn literacy on the basis of watching. You learn literacy on the basis of doing. And I think that it's that space that we should capture and provide an opportunity to expose students on how they can protect themselves digitally. You know, there's so many dangers across there. You know, every day we use phones, we use our digital devices, we dropped what we call the metadata about ourselves, about our families, about our colleagues, friends, about everything that we do. And that is why today, when you Google, Google knows more about ourselves than we do actually know about ourselves, And so with that sort of data, people are able to reconstruct our whole lives trajectory, decide on what we eat, extrapolate on whom we meet, where we meet, when we meet, and so forth, And so generally we are publicly naked on the digital space for people. But I think that it's really, if we are serious as a society, that this is the right time to ensure that everybody, not just children, but adults also, are provided opportunity to understand the dangers that are inherent in unsafe digital interactions and how they can protect themselves and remain safe online as they engage with the digital space.
I think one way to test what you are saying right now is to put the Nigerian to work right this moment. So wherever you are, do me a favor. Google your name to find out whether what Mr. Yao is saying is of essence. So just Google your name, your full name, maybe what some people will call your government name. Just check it out online, see how much the internet knows about you. But there's something that your organization, CTAD, has been doing, the E-Rights Project. How does the E-Rights Project address some of the issues of concern that you have raised?
Well, the E-Rights Project works on the different levels. The first level is actually to create awareness about it. You started with a question about whether people indeed understand or not aware about digital rights. So we do engage the public, the citizens, so that they understand what these digital rights are, what they can do, and generally raise public awareness about them, because unless you create a public awareness, people will not even know what these rights are about. When you raise awareness, the next step is actually to get people to understand. So we train, build capacity, so that people would understand what exactly is digital rights, what is its place in the legal system. How can I, as a citizen, ensure that my digital rights are respected and so forth. Now, that's about capacity building. And when you do capacity building, you have to look at different stakeholders, Okay, so if your right is infringed or abused, then you need to get to the legal judiciary to make a decision on that. And so we also needed to train judges on how they can listen to cases about digital rights abuse, how they can adjudicate those cases. But we also needed to educate lawyers about how they can prosecute about digital rights abuses and so forth. So you build capacity of citizens, but you also build relevant agencies, people from those agencies that are responsible for protecting and ensuring that our rights being respected. Now that's just second level. And the third level is actually about providing opportunity for people to report digital rights abuses. Just like we do offline abuses, we report cases to National Human Rights Commission. We create platforms for citizens who see the rights of other people or even their own rights being abused to report on those platforms so that we can on our own escalate them, either through engaging with the parties involved, either through reporting to other parties such as the National Human Rights Commission or to police and so forth, or in fact providing, which is the first level, providing pro bono legal services for people who are victims of digital rights abuse. So when we hear that, we have trained lawyers who can be able to handle those cases free of charge, not billing the victim, because when you bill him, then you make access to justice much more difficult for people who are especially poor. So we have a huge pool of pro bono legal service providers who are ready and willing to provide the services to prosecute cases of digital rights abuse. So generally, these are
just so we can touch on a few other things before you leave our studios. There are a few things that your office is doing. I want you to shed some more light on it. There's a digital economy fund to support northern women. Could you talk to us a little bit about how CITAD is doing that, and what kind of support are you providing for these women?
Well, we recognize that the digital space has to be inclusive. And from our work, we find that it has actually for a long time marginalized women in particular. And so we got into that discussion about what can we do for women so that they can benefit from the opportunities that avail in the digital space. And so what we've been doing is, first of all, ensure that many women have digital skills. Now that's basic, because without the digital skills, you cannot be able to productively engage with that space, you know. And so that's the first thing we do. The second thing we do for women is then expose them to entrepreneurial skills that are suited to the domain of the digital space, whether they are going to become software developers, whether they will be website designers, whether they will be coders, but also whether they wanted to leverage this on non-technology businesses, transforming them by leveraging technology, that's digital technology. And so we provide them that onboarding. First of all, providing them those skills. Second, providing them the onboarding of how they can leverage technology to transform and build this on the businesses. And then we provide them mentoring, which allows them to navigate the difficult spaces of business environment in Nigeria.
Created a nexus between online abuse and suicide in Nigeria. Could you help us understand what those lines are? How does this correlate, and what's being done about it? What kind of advocacy from your office are we seeing to stop this menace?
Well, the link about the suicide and digital space is that in our society, attention is given to issues that are so visible, you know. Gender violence online is essentially non-visible, you know. So it takes place on the private space, and when victims, you know, speaks out, they become orchestrated, you know, they harass, you know, they are made a double victim, you know. And so because of that, many people fear to report that they have been abused and so forth. And that creates trauma for them, you know, and it's that trauma that drives people into committing suicide and so forth. So for us, the advocacy that we are doing is double-edged. First of all, to let people understand that the victim must speak out, no matter what the state it is, you know. Second, that society must accord special respect and recognition to victims of abuses and so forth. So that's the sort of advocacy that we are doing. But we also create online safe spaces where people who are especially victims can be able to report anonymously without exposing themselves, you know, and our back-end technology would be able to cross-check, fact-check, and be sure that things that are reported are actually things that have happened, you know, and so that you can be able to isolate the person and remove them from the societal pressure that comes to victims of such abuses, you know. So those are the sort of work that we do in my office.
Well, there are so many other issues to raise with you, Mr. Yao, but just this one thing. Kayla, my colleague, asked you about what your organization is doing in terms of, you know, digital support for women. What's the conversation you are having with state governments and of how many states, if there is any such going on, to balance that? So is there a working relationship to ensure that people feel safe and express themselves as safely and as properly as they should without feeling censored?
We are talking with both state and the federal agencies. Let me start with the federal agency. We've been engaged in discussion with both the Nigerian Communications Commissions and the Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency, NIGDA, within the framework of what they define as digital inclusion. Now, digital inclusion means ensuring that every marginalized group is allowed, is given the chance to engage. Now, for you to do that, you have to be able to understand what are the existential factors that make it difficult, for instance, for women to productively engage with the digital space, you know. And that brings the question of safety, you know. They need to create safe spaces. They need to ensure that our laws provide adequate safeguards and protections for women, for children, and so forth, you know. And I think that at national level, that there has been a growing instrumentalization of documents that protect the rights of the women, rights of children, and we see efforts being done. Now, at the state level, this is just starting, and I think that in CITAD, we've engaged with Kano State Government, we've engaged with Jigawa State Government, we've engaged with the Bauchi State Government, Yobe State Government, and Gombe State also. So a number of states in these regions that we've been talking to. But we've also been engaged with Imo State, Kwara State, you know, especially when we had to do training on for young girls on robotics, e-commerce.
My apologies. It's quite, you know, cheering to hear that these conversations are already, you know, going on. And there are a number of other issues that I would have loved to raise with you, but for the exigency of time. For instance, the challenge of balancing rights and security, given the issues we've been having around that in recent time. But thank you so much for your time this morning. Mr. YZ Yao is Executive Director of CITAD. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
And that's Sunrise Daily this morning. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a beautiful weekend.
And all of you have a great weekend ahead. Hey, we hear that there's a protest. Well, there could be a protest in Lagos. They're gathering, but for this Sowore arresting, people are asking for him to be released. We'll give you all those details in future bulletins in the course of today. But I have to thank you all so much. I am Kayla Magwa. Enjoy your weekend.